it was kind of funny because Benj was not a pretty baby. he had had a tough time in the birthing process, and he had this little cone head, and so I mean, there was nothing pretty about Benj, but he was my son, and it was so cool. The kid hated to sleep. He hated to sleep because he just wanted to live. I mean, everything that he did was all out. He would go until he couldn't go anymore, and then he would sleep for a while, and then he'd wake up in the morning ready to go again. That was just his nature. He lived everything to the fullest and didn't hold back. He didn't. He gave it all. He gave it all.
So this is our balloon lights. If you want to run that up through there, and then run it up right through here, right through there. Yep, and we're just gonna tie this off. Here. Great.
On September 5, 1994, Labor Day morning, the night before, they had we had gone to an outdoor worship service. We got done with the service. We went home afterwards. Two of my son's friends came over. We had ice cream around our table. My son and his two friends were going to spend the night in their cabin out in the back of our farm. And so they took off, as they did many times. They had little Honda Sprees, and it was great. They were rolling out of the yard, and my son had a dog at the time. Buffy was the dog's name. It was a Cocker Spaniel, and the dog would sit with his paws on the spree. and they took off and rode. It was about a half a mile back to where the cabin was. And they took off with their sprees. Bye, Dad. And it was cool. Everything was good. It was a warm night, and so we had, the doors were open in our house. The back screen door was open, and I heard the back screen door slam shut. And I could hear commotion. And it was one of my son's friends come walking in, running actually, in the back of our house and standing at the foot of our bed. He knew where our bed was. Standing at the foot of the bed. There's an emergency, the cabin's on fire. And I sat up in bed, and I asked Ryan, I said, where are Benj and Chad? And he said, they're in the cabin and I can't wake them up. At the time I was on the fire department, I was a paramedic, and knew I was going to need some equipment. The fire station was about a quarter of a mile from our house, so I wanted to go to the fire station and get the equipment that I needed. And so I said to Ryan and Cindy, my wife, I said, you call 911, you stay here. I'm going to go get a fire truck because I can beat the page, because it was a paging system that took a while to get out. So I went to the fire station, hopped in a rescue truck, radioed Central Dispatch, let them know what was going on a little bit, and that I was en route. And as I'm coming near the cabin, I can see a fully engulfed cabin in the back of my property. And I'm just praying all the way out there, God, somehow let my boy out of that fire, somehow. Him and Chad, I just wanted them so much to get out of there. And I just prayed like I never prayed before. We had a small water tanker on the back of this truck, and things weren't working well. My adrenaline was flying. I was going hard, and I remember breaking a hose on the back of it as I was pulling it off, trying to knock down the fire. It wasn't working, but when I broke the hose, it just doused me in water. So I thought the next best thing is I can knock down the flames where I knew they would be sleeping if they were sleeping. It was a loft inside of the cabin. And I went in and knocked the flames down with a fire extinguisher. I was still first person on the scene. Nobody was there yet. And knocked down the flames where Ben and Chad were, and they were still in the cabin. And their bodies were burned beyond recognition, and I knew that there was nothing I could do for them. I had seen many things in my life as a paramedic, and what I did in my life was fix things. And here was my son, and I couldn't fix it. It was tough. And I backed away from the fire, and I fell to my knees, and I looked to the heavens, and it was a clear night. I mean, the stars were shining all over. And I looked to the heavens, and I said, God, what am I going to do? God, what am I going to do? Because my only son is gone. And as I looked into the heavens, I don't know how. I can't to this day explain how, but God let me know very clearly. He said, you experienced some hardship before, and you were angry when your father died, and you let the devil take care of that, and you saw how that turned out. I want you to turn this over to me and let me fight this battle for you. And I will take care of you. It's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, but I will take care of you. I said, okay, God, I don't know how I'm going to do this because I can't do it. But I believe you can. And I trusted him. I remember a fishing trip a year before his accident where it was just me and Bench. We went up to the UP in Michigan, went up to Blind Sucker River, went fishing, just the two of us. It was just a special time that, as I look back on now, God gave me to spend with my son, to just be able to share what was important to him. I remember thinking before we took that trip, talking about how we really couldn't afford it. It was a busy time for me at work, but we just did it anyhow. We took the time. It's so important to get those lines of communications open and talking. Fathers talking with kids and their sons and their daughters, and just restoring their lives, because God has some pretty great plans.